Hi everyone, my name is Vincent and I'm showing you how I made my Lego Egyptian princess all out of cake. To start, I have a pre-cut cake board that I've covered with black contact paper, and I've turned the cake board over and I'm adding some feet to the cake board just so it's easier to carry the cake once it's done. Once that's done, I have a threaded rod that I have to the exact length that I want it, so that's almost proportional to the size of the cake that I want. I'm tightening it now with nuts washers and locking washers, just so that I know that the threaded rod's not going to go anywhere when I start building the cake. I've also made sure that I pre-drilled the hole beforehand, which also tells me where I want my cake to be exactly on the board. The reason I'm building this structure is I want to have the assurance that when I deliver this cake to a venue, that it's going to travel safely in the car and it's not going to topple over. So I've made points on this figurine. The first one is the cake board, this first cake board where the torso and the legs meet. This second board is where the head and the top of the torso is going to meet as well. So everything's going to be cake, it's not going to cave into one another, and it's not going to collapse. So between these cake shelves, I'm adding nuts and washers to secure it. Once that's done, I'm actually making the arms. So I'm making the arms using armature wire, and as you can see, I'm trying to secure it so it's not going anywhere. And using my blueprint, I'm just making sure that I have the extensions at the right positions. I didn't show you how I made the structure foot safe, I just forgot. So what I did, I had to pull the structure apart first and then build it up with bubble tea straws and aluminum foil tape. So now it's time to build the cake. I'm using dark chocolate mud cake, and as you can see, with this cake there's a lot of exact measurements that needs to be made. Lego is a very unique toy. It has a lot of blocks that has very specific measurements, so I want to make sure that I keep a very close eye with all the measurements, just so that the end result, you look at it and you can tell right away it is a Lego figurine. I don't usually do this often with carved cakes, but as you can see, I'm filling this cake here with vanilla French buttercream. So yummy. It's not very heat stable here in Australia, but because it's winter, I thought it will hold really well, and I have a very safe structure to hold it in place. And now, as you can see, I'm making this extra decadent with some yummy salted caramel as well. The cake is divine. I'm just adding more cake layers to build up the torso, and once that's done, I'm using my blueprint to actually cut out the exact size and shape that I want, and that's done. I'm adding ganache to the cake now. You could use buttercream if you want to, but I personally prefer to use ganache for this project. Lego figurines or even Lego blocks have very sharp edges to their blocks, and I feel I get a better result with dark chocolate ganache, so that's what I used. So all I'm doing at this stage is just to get all my sharp edges on all sides of the cake. I'm always constantly topping up with more ganache. I'm using the bench scraper, I'm using the spatula to make sure that all parts of the cake is filled with ganache. If there's any holes, to fill it in, and I'm always checking it with the blueprint as well to make sure that I have the exact shapes that I want. And once I'm happy with that, I can start adding fondant to it. Now I'm just covering the cake in fondant. So I have white fondant to use for this project. The Egyptian princess has a lot of detail on the front of her costume, which I will paint later on. But for now, I'm just going to cover the whole cake in white. The cake is being covered in sections, as you can see, or I call it the paneling method. It's really easy for me to only concentrate on one side at a time, and I don't have to worry about having elephant skin or having the fondant dry out on me before I get to that part. Making the head of the Lego figurine was a challenge. I did one using Rice Krispie treats and that didn't work, unfortunately. So as you can see here, there's a very weird looking Marge Simpson going on. I actually had to rebuild the head with foam core, and I've stacked the cake on top. So really there was a lot of hair on this Egyptian princess that I had to carve out with cake, and later on you'll notice that I'll start adding cake pop mixture to it to create the fringe and to just build up the shape of the head in general. Now it's time to cover the face. So for the face, I had white fondant and I added some yellow color gel to it and a touch of orange color gel. That gives you that signature Lego color. So using some of the yellow fondant, I've added some green color gel to it to make the snake that comes with the Lego Egyptian princess. I've also added lots of Tylose or CMC powder to this snake. We want it to set up firm and hard when the cake is ready. As you can see, I've eyeballed the size of the snake in proportion to the figurine. I've also used sugar shapers and a cell stick to create the head and the texture that's on the snake itself. And once that's done, I've just left it to dry on its own until I'm ready for it. Lastly, I'm covering the hair with black fondant now. I'm doing it in sections, so I'm starting with the fringe. You will also notice that I've actually let the black fondant hang a little bit over where the cake should be. That's obviously my bad. I didn't check the blueprint as to how low her hair comes down to. It's actually up to the shoulder, but that's alright. Whatever that's overhanging, obviously it doesn't impact the look of the toy or the cake. So I'm just covering it in sections, and once that's done, I actually go back with a cell stick to create the indents that's on the hair itself, and once that's done, we are done with covering the cake. To transfer the design of the Egyptian princess's dress to the cake, what I did was I printed the design to the exact size of the cake, traced the back of the design with a pencil, and then lay that design onto the cake, secure it with pins, and then just gently rub over the design with a cell stick, and that should leave an imprint of what the design should be on the cake. And as you can see, I've done that with the face as well. So that's it. All there is left is just to paint the details on the front of the cake. You just have to fill in whichever area is supposed to be blue in color. For the Egyptian princess, there's gold as well, and there's black. To make sure that I'm actually coloring the right color in the right spot, you can see me holding the Egyptian princess, the actual toy, in my hands and following where exactly has to have the gold needs to go and where the blue needs to go, and so on and so forth. This is a little tedious project. This painting section took me at least 2 hours, but done properly, the result looks really, really magnificent. The gold that I use, which is an edible art paint gold, I actually made 2 passes at it. The first time the gold is not a solid gold, I have to go through a second time just to make sure that I've painted it all the way. And then of course not to forget to paint the headdress on the Egyptian princess. And we're on the home stretch now to just finish the black accents on the costume. My filming skills are little to be desired, as you can tell. Sorry you can't see it on the camera, but it's pretty much just finishing the bottom, and once that's done I move on to her face. Thank you so much for watching my little video on how to make your own Lego figurine. My Lego arm didn't really work out and unfortunately it broke, but I hope that this video will inspire you to make your own Lego figurine, and hopefully the techniques that I've shown will be of great use to you. So for now, I'm going to enjoy my cake. Thank you. Bye.